Hi everyone and welcome to beautiful Sydney, Australia. Thanks for taking the time to attend that webinar where we're going to present to you our Azure Stack offering. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Francois. I'm a cloud solution architect with Avanade. I've been with Avanade for about 3 years and I'm now part of the Azure Cloud Enablement team at Avanade. That is a global team mainly based in North America, but that is essentially the team that is driving that Azure Stack offering on behalf of Avanade. It's actually a team of engineers. Yes, even Sean and myself are engineers. I know it's hard to believe, but we are the dedicated technical pre-sales, I guess, for Azure Stack in the Asia Pacific region. So I'll let Sean introduce himself now, but welcome again and hope you enjoyed that webinar.
Thanks, Francois. My name is Sean Lehan. I'm also a cloud solution architect within our Azure Cloud Enablement team. I've been with Avanade for about 11 years. My background is in cloud infrastructure. And today's webinar, really, we want to give you an overview of our Azure Stack offering. We'll give you a little bit of a brief background about Avanade in case you're not familiar with us. We'll also talk about some of our differentiators, how it fits into our hybrid cloud story, and also we'll flash up our contact details. Our role, as Francois said, is APAC-wide. We help our clients. We're on the technical pre-sales, really, for Azure Stack. So we're happy to take any of your questions. Thank you. So just a brief overview on who Avanade is, if you're not already aware. Avanade is a joint venture between Accenture and Microsoft. We were founded in the year 2000. We obviously aligned pretty closely with our parent companies. We focus mainly on the Microsoft ecosystem, and especially anything to do with Microsoft's cloud products, whether that's Azure Public or, of course, Azure Stack. We have about 30,000 employees globally, around 1,200 partners, client partners. We do tend to work with the large enterprises, so 46% of the global 500 companies are our clients. We're well recognized for our experience and our knowledge around the Microsoft products. I just want to draw your attention to one really there, which is the Microsoft Azure Alliance Partner of the Year 2017 and 2016 running. So again, well recognized for our experience when it comes to Azure Cloud. Okay, Francois.
Thank you, Sean. So I guess the first thing to mention about Azure Stack and where it actually fits in the overall cloud story is really to take a step back and to look at cloud adoption, right? Have we seen 100% cloud adoption? Well, not quite really, and the reasons for that are actually quite obvious. If we look now at the markets, is essentially it's a modernization journey for our customers, right? It's a modernization journey that basically is seen at every level of the enterprise, be it application, infrastructure, processes, of course, as well as workplace. And so organizations need to modernize their enterprise in order to take advantage of cloud, of the benefits of the promise of cloud. The problems, though, is that for those organizations, there are still constraints, right? Legacy applications or regulatory constraints, or even some edge scenarios, where, for example, latency is limited or even completely disconnected. We'll see that in a later slide. So what we've noticed is that the all-in, all-out approach when it comes to cloud simply doesn't work, right? Organizations can't move all their IT to the cloud, and they're faced with, therefore, the only other alternative is to keep all their IT on-prem. Well, there is a middle ground now that Azure Stack actually enables, and that is what we will see in the next slide.
So you may have seen a version of this slide already, but just to recap on those typical kind of cloud challenges or use cases around Azure Stack. I guess the center one is probably the most prevalent one that we see when talking to our clients, which is clients that would like to adopt the public cloud, but for other internal governance reasons or government regulations, there is a reason why they can't put that on the public cloud. Well, Azure Stack provides a solution, that's complementary to the Azure Public that can solve that problem for them. The left-hand side is really that edge scenario. Think of situations such as mining clients, for example, that need to have that compute power close to their mining operations, where latency to the public cloud is a problem. again, Azure Stack can assist in that situation. And of course, on the right-hand side are those true hybrid solutions where you build modern applications that span both the public and the private cloud. And how does Azure Stack help with this? Well, as I mentioned, Azure Stack is Azure within your data center. So that consistent solution of having a public and private cloud platform and allowing you to use the same tools, processes, people to manage your environment, to have the same processes for code release, etc. And really it brings the power of Azure and the agility of Azure to your data center.
Thank you, Sean. So as Sean just said, the idea with Azure Stack is to bring Azure in your data center. And that is great. It gives you that consistency, especially from a developer's perspective, you know, at the API level, at the portal level, but there is still a gap. There is a gap between Azure and Azure Stack. And in fact, if you look at that little diagram here on screen, the gap is simply that in the Azure public version, if you want, Microsoft actually manages most of the infrastructure for you, for the customers, right? They're managing the data center, the hardware, of course, as well as the Azure cloud software platform and all the services that sit on top of that platform, which leaves the customers, you, with only the need to manage applications, workloads. Now, when we look at the Azure Stack version, the problem is that, well, now because it's on-premise, as Sean said, the customer has got to manage everything, not only the applications as they would on Microsoft Azure Public, but also all the other components of that cloud, starting from the data center all the way up to the IaaS and PaaS services. And that's where our offering really bring value, is that we, Avanade, take care of managing all the components of Azure Stack that can't be managed by Microsoft because Azure Stack is deployed on premises. Now with that, we bring you the exact same experience as you would on Azure Public, operated and managed by Avanade in your data centers or an Avanade hosted data center. And that way we give a truly consistent experience between the on-premises cloud and the public cloud, be it at the portal level, the API level, but also at the operations level, which is where customers will gain the most benefits from our offering.
And what is that offering? Well, we'll take you through the Avanade offering, and I guess we've got a slightly different take around Azure Stack itself, because as we mentioned, Avanade, you know, we've been in the cloud business for quite a while, as Microsoft is one of our parents. So from our point of view, we see Azure Stack as complementary to the services we already provide to our clients. And really, Azure Stack helps fill that gap around the true hybrid cloud solution. Given our knowledge and experience around Azure, we really see Azure Stack as a combination of the software, the Azure Stack fabric, the hardware that we use, but more importantly, the services that Avanade provides to our clients around Azure Public or Azure Stack. And all that experience we've built over the years of working with our clients to transform, adopt, migrate to the cloud, build modern applications, they're also relevant now to our clients that want to use Azure Stack. And again, our aim here is to provide it as a managed service so that clients can focus on what they need to do, which is their business problems and innovation.
Thank you. And this slide really shows our full standard package, our full managed services offering for Azure Stack. And basically our standard package is just this, right? The Avanade certified, and Microsoft certified hardware and software, the setup and the configurations, which basically means we send our engineers to your data center and we're gonna set up rack and stack cable Azure Stack and configure it with our managed services to make it fully operational for you, ready to deploy your workloads. In addition to that, we are offering what we call the Hybrid Cloud Foundations Workshop, which is basically a 2 to 3 weeks on-site workshops, sessions with the customers where we will be discussing all the key enterprise aspects of Azure Stack and how it's deployed in their data center. This is basically an extension of our traditional Cloud Foundations workshop, which we run on Microsoft Azure Public. And really the idea behind that is to equip our clients with basically all the framework and the decisions that need to be made early on to set up a proper cloud, and in this case, hybrid cloud model. The Azure Stack managed service itself is, well, pretty much what you would expect to see in a traditional managed service offering, right? We're monitoring the hardware and the software proactively and reactively. We organize break fixes, we ship parts and install them to the customer's data center. We monitor, obviously, the overall instance. The key point, I guess, here is to stress the fact that our team, our managed services team, does not have access to the workloads running on Azure Stack. There is no way for our team to access that workload, so the customers can feel confident that from an operational perspective, we're only managing the platform and not what's hosted and running on the platform. We're obviously going to be releasing patches and updates that are going to be given to us by Microsoft on a monthly basis. We aim at releasing them on a monthly basis as well. Of course, that depends also on the customer's requirement, and if we need to deploy them every 2 or 3 months, we will of course accommodate that. Finally, we also administer Azure Stack itself, so look after the plans, the quotas, the subscriptions, updates for resource providers, and so on. And the last, I guess, important point of our managed service offering is our billing portal. That you'll see a little more details in the subsequent slides, but it's actually an offering that we're giving our clients that was originally designed for Azure Public to help them measure their Azure consumption. That service is now also available on Azure Stack, helping the clients monitor and manage the cost with respect to their Azure Stack consumption. And again, you'll get more details in a few minutes. And just to finish on that particular slide, we have also optional services, additional features that we can bundle with our standard package, essentially around providing more storage capacity around the Azure Stack stamp, or backup solutions through our different partnerships. But of course, because we are an SI, we can also help our customers work around the workloads, around the management of that workload that would be deployed on Azure Stack and or Azure Public.
Thanks, Francois. And this slide, I guess there's a lot on this slide, but just really this talks about Avanade being a systems integrator. And as Francois mentioned there, making that clear distinction between what we do as the managed service for Azure Stack itself. That's everything below the black line in the middle, all those items in blue. Again, as Francois said, managing the hardware, the software, deployment and configuration of it, and really a full, true managed service with one single point of contact. But importantly, as a systems integrator, we can do what we call above-the-line services. And these are all the traditional work Avanade and our parent company, Accenture, has been doing for a long time on cloud. So, if a client needs assistance with migrating workloads to Azure Stack, or running a large transformation project, if you want to build new modern applications on Azure Stack, or as Francois mentioned, our managed services team for Azure Stack do not have access to your client workloads. But if you do want an SI to manage your operating systems, your VMs, or your applications, we can assist with those as well. What it really means, if you bundle all of those together, is we can provide a true end-to-end service to our clients and provide everything back as a managed service and everything back as a service to you.
Thank you, Sean. So if we look quickly at what we call the different t-shirt sizes available in our Azure Stack offering, we start at 4 nodes. That's the minimum we can provide to date. And that's basically a technical limitation, just to make sure that the Azure Stack appliance keeps functioning even if we were to lose a node or even 2. But then we can do everything in between, all the way up to 12 nodes. Now that's at the time of recording. We know and we expect that in the very near future we will be able to go above 12, but at the moment let's say that we are limiting ourselves to 12 nodes. We obviously put the middle t-shirt size, which is 8 nodes, but keep in mind this is just indicative. We can do pretty much everything in between. If you want 6 nodes, if you want 10 nodes, we can definitely work with that and provide you with the capacity that you need. So we're very flexible in terms of sizes. We can assist our clients with obviously right-sizing their Azure Stack deployment. That's actually part of the consulting work we do when we engage with customers. We're not just there to drop hardware in your data center. We actually want to work with you and understand your context to give you the best possible advice when it comes to Azure Stack, and as Sean mentioned just earlier, around the workloads. Again, for us, that's our DNA, right? And we're really interested in making sure that the platform we supply you with is adequately spec'd for the workloads you intend to run. And that, of course, takes into account your high availability and disaster recovery requirements, everything around your technical environment. Now, that offering of Azure Stack can be provided CapEx or OpEx, right? Typically, our traditional managed services is running for 4 years. But again, we're very flexible. We can accommodate 3, 5, something to discuss depending on your actual requirements. And again, we stress the idea where you will get the most benefits out of our Azure Stack offering is really when we start looking at the above-the-line services that Sean provided. Everything that Avanade does on Azure Public and is famous for in the Azure Public world can now be brought down to Azure Stack on-premises in your environment and provide you, therefore, with a true as-a-service model.
Thanks, Francois. And just to wrap up this section, we just want to touch on a little bit around our extended services. So I might just touch on the billing portal because Francois mentioned it earlier, but we have custom developed a billing portal that works with both your Azure Public subscription and Azure Stack subscription. This allows you to drill into your consumption charges, understand where you're spending, assist you with making kind of those predictions around where future spend will go, and obviously help you cost save when needed. Avanade can also custom develop resource providers. Now, if you're familiar with Azure Stack, you'll know what a resource provider is, but a resource provider is really what provides any of those functions and features within Azure Stack itself. For example, the SQL PaaS resource provider. Avanade has the ability to be able to unseal the hosts and custom develop resource providers with our clients. We also manage your plans, quotas, marketplace items, etc. as part of the setup and configuration of Azure Stack and the ongoing managed service that we provide. Now again, as a systems integrator, which is really a key differentiator for us when it comes to Azure Stack, any of the stuff that we've mentioned in the past, just to recap on that stuff, we engage with our clients as part of the setup for Azure Stack. All about that right sizing, how it integrates into your environment, how you're going to operate it, the governance that goes around Azure Stack. That's all the stuff that we want to help our clients understand as they deploy Azure Stack, or as we deploy Azure Stack with you. That's our Hybrid Cloud Foundation workshop. All the other things that we do for our clients is again that traditional Avanade Accenture DNA, where we can help you build modern applications, transform, migrate your workloads, manage those workloads for you, whether it's the VM, the OS, the application. We can help you with your cloud strategy. We can help you in areas such as DevOps. And this list is not extensive. There's lots of other things that Avanade can do for clients around cloud adoption. So we spoke about the typical scenarios for Azure Stack and what we hear when we talk to clients about Azure Stack and those use cases. And one of those use cases we spoke about was the edge, high latency scenario. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Francois?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Sean. Look, one of the key advantage of Azure Stack is you can deploy it on premises. So basically wherever you want, where there is no Azure data center in the vicinity, or where you have actually very specific requirements. So let's say you are on a boat. Please forgive my drawing skills. But you're not always connected to the internet, or you have intermittent connections, if not completely disconnected, if you're really, really far away from home. You can run Azure Stack in that disconnected mode. Another better example may be shown, something that lots of organizations we hope are actually going to be interested in, are those true hybrid scenarios, where you have part of the workloads actually deployed to Azure Public, where it makes sense, for those big compute the low or high latency that is available. All of that can be deployed on Azure Public. However, part of your system of that particular workload needs to be deployed much closer to a specific area. So let's say you're for example, I'm not even going to try to draw it, to be honest. But in a mine site, for example, you could be faced with lots of equipment firing IoT messages left, right, and center with very, very low latency requirements. And obviously, deploying the workloads on Azure Public would not make sense, especially if we look at here, Australia. It's a country continent. We have 2 Azure data centers at the moment. They're all on the East Coast. But if we were to deploy workloads on the West Coast in Western Australia, where our resources are, we would be faced with problems when it comes to low latency. So Sean, do you want to tell us how that model would be deployed on Azure and Azure Stack?
Yeah, so that latency consideration, it's a very Australian problem, to be honest, but it also applies in other areas where countries that don't have an Azure public footprint but need to deploy stuff close to their operations, really. It can be those large amounts of data you're gathering from mission critical equipment. I've talked to mining companies where health and safety systems need to be kept close to the mining sites. They don't have the luxury of putting their solutions on the public cloud. So in that kind of remote location scenario, Azure Stack can help because you can deploy close to your mining site. You can have that consistent Azure experience within your mining site, and obviously the smaller scale units we spoke about, a suite where you don't have a lot of workloads you need to deploy on top of it. But then you can also leverage the public cloud because you can deploy that true hybrid model. Processing data close to the mining site and then sending a subset of that data to the public cloud for processing in the public cloud.
Right, so whilst Sean was talking, I was trying to improve my drawing skills. But imagine a truck deployed in Western Australia in a mine would send IoT messages to an Azure Stack appliance located in the mine, literally. All that can be processed locally before the data is actually shipped to Azure for further processing, data aggregation, you name it, reporting and whatnot. That's the power of Azure Stack. It's really now, through the consistency we discussed just before in the previous slides, you can basically architect, develop, and operate the same workloads regardless of the destination. Whether you deploy it to Azure Public or Azure Stack in a mine site, the concepts and the technologies are exactly the same. You just deploy the same thing, and the destination becomes only a parameter in your process. And that way you can really take advantage of the cloud technology, the Azure cloud technology, to take all the advantage you can and really maximize, optimize your operations.
And that really speaks to that consistency again. From a DevOps point of view, you're using the same tools, the same people, the same processes, whether it's Azure Stack or Azure Public, they're just 2 different endpoints. You release your code into 2 separate endpoints effectively. I might just touch on one other thing when it comes to this scenario, because it's an interesting scenario, because if you remember the scenario slide we spoke about, that edge, high latency scenario, and also the hybrid, this is really a mix of both, where you do some processing close to the mining site. One thing I do want to talk about here as well is that, again, it goes back to the fact that Avanade's an SI. So we're not just talking about the help we provide our clients around Azure Stack itself. We're also can help build those solutions, build those applications, build the stuff on the public cloud and your private cloud. Of course, we can also then help clients, if they so desire, depending on their comfort level, to really manage everything, if you really want us to, all the ways up to your application layer, if you're comfortable with that. And again, from a commercial point of view, provide it back as a service, as that true OpEx model for clients.
Right, folks. Well, thanks again. We hope you enjoyed that webinar with us. Don't hesitate to contact us at any time if you have any questions about Azure Stack, about our offering, about Avanade generally, the services we provide our clients, and everything else you've heard today. You want to have more information about? Don't hesitate. Call us out.
And just a quick recap on some of those differentiators you would have heard during the presentation, but really, I guess you probably understood that Avanade's slightly different take on the whole Azure Stack story. From an Avanade point of view, it's complementary to what we've been doing for a long time with Azure Public for our clients. So it fits in really into our hybrid cloud story. Avanade as an SI, you know, we do more than just provide Azure Stack hardware within your data center. We run it as a full managed service for you. We can also obviously help with all those other offerings and capabilities we mentioned, such as transformation, modern applications, etc. One of the other key differentiators, I guess, is Avanade is recognized by Microsoft as a key partner when it comes to Azure. A good example there as well about how we operate is the engineers that we work with, our technical team that have been working on Azure Stack since its very inception. They're the same team that will be providing the managed services support for Azure Stack. So again, thank you for your time, and please reach out to us if you have any questions.